Hello and welcome along to another mini FM21 niche experiment from Welsh Football with me, Daniel. We're back today to continue what we started a few months ago. Now, I'll put the link to that in the eye above and explain myself very quickly in a moment. But we're going to be doing another Welsh-based experiment, and I thought what better way than to celebrate the new football season with 3 Sundays of Welsh football experiments, running alongside our Bangor City Builder Nation every weekday. The perfect way to see out August. So if you're looking forward to seeing this one and what we've got in store, please do put a thumbs up on the video. Subscribe down below for new videos every weekday from our Bangor City Builder Nation story. We've got loads of FM22 plans round the corner and a few other weekend mini-series to come too. And up in the eye above, you can also find a link to the Twitch channel where we're going to have regular live streams, including Welsh football games. And we've also got the new food channel and podcast channel up there too. So please do go and check them out. But today, we're carrying on what we left off. So a few months ago, you'll remember on this channel that we did a Welsh experiment. But not any old Welsh experiment, a niche one. We gave everyone, based on their reputation, as much money as was reasonably possible within the database without editing everything else. So it ended up with TNS getting, I think, about 30 million and then it working down to around 9 million for Flint Town. Something along those lines. But what we did then is we holidayed 10, 20 and 30 years to see what Welsh sugar daddies could do for Welsh football. And we actually got some pretty surprising results. I won't spoil it for those of you that haven't seen it yet. But it also gave us a little idea. We don't really want to do these big stereotype experiments on the channel because we know what we're going to learn. If you give a non-league team £1 billion, they're going to become much better. So we wanted to do things where we didn't really know what the outcome would be and something a little more niche. So what we've decided now is to have a look at a few different areas with the same teams at the same levels and see which one has the biggest impact on their fortunes. So we've obviously done the Welsh experiment with the financial side for the clubs. So what we're now going to focus on, as the title gives away, is the reputation. Now that's not the reputation of the league, because if we wanted to know the effects of that, we can just look at our Bangor City Builder Nation where we've gradually been building it over years. What I wanted to do at the start of this save, and I'll go into the Welsh Premier League in the editor to show you what I've done. No big changes really. We've only made 24 to the database overall, you can see. The Welsh League has not changed whatsoever. This is as it is in the box. Let's go and look at the teams though. Because what I have done, if we go into here, is given every team in the top tier a reputation of 9,200. I've also done that for the top 5 teams in the north and the south. That includes Bangor City as well. But the reason we've done 9,200 is because that matches the most reputable side in the database at the moment, which is Barcelona. So we've got the same reputation for all of these clubs as Barca, but nothing else to match it. The finances are still terrible. The nation's still in a poor place coefficient-wise, so no extra sides in Europe, no bonuses on that side. The only thing we have changed is this reputation. Now, what I want to see, a bit like when we did the financial one, is are the teams going to cancel each other out because they've all got a very good reputation? Is it just going to drop like a stone and gradually drop back to the level of the league? Or is this reputation going to have a positive impact and allow the club to develop? Does it tempt new investment? Does it get them more likely to get a tycoon? All of those sorts of things that we don't know the answer to. So I'm really intrigued to see how this pans out, and that's why I want to do it, because I don't know what the answer would be. So we're going to give the Welsh League the reputation. We're going to go and head into the main game. And with these 12 sides plus the top 5 from the JD North and the JD South, we're going to see which of the 22 succeed and whether any of them fail. And most importantly, whether it's more important to have a bigger reputation than it is to have millions in the bank. That's what we're going to find out compared to the last one. And I'll see you in a minute as we head 10 years in the future for our first instalment and glimpse into the future. Hopefully, it'll still be worthwhile to look further. And here we go. We're back on the 15th of June 2030 to see what's been happening in Welsh football. I can immediately see a couple of jobs available in the south for sides that, particularly in Ely Rangers, I don't think were there before. Not so sure about Taft's Well. But I holidayed this last night and I've genuinely been looking forward to finding out the answer all day. I hope there's some positives. The Luton job's available as well. Just an interesting side note as a fan. So let's go and have a look at the Welsh Premier League to see what's been happening. Like last time, we'll go and have a glance at the coefficients, how many sides have got into Europe regularly. Maybe I'm getting a bit too excited. Maybe not a lot's changed. And here we go. And immediately, there are a few things that have stood out to me. Firstly, yes, TNS have won it the last 3 years. When I was typing it in and saw holders TNS, I'll be honest, I just went, oh, here we go again. But look at the 5 years before that. TNS won the first year. Port Talbot, who started in the second tier, must have got promoted, then won 4 titles out of 5. Afan Lido, another side that were in the lower tier, they've come up and won a title. Carmarthen the same. And it's only the last 3 years that TNS are back. So if we look at the league table, Bangor City, TNS, Carmarthen are top 3. Llandudno 5th. So Port Talbot are 4th. They're up there still. Still only 4 sides in Europe. But the other thing that really stood out to me is look at the competition reputation. After 10 years, the Welsh Premier League is 42nd ranked there. Now that's higher than we were after 10 years in the Bangor City save. And for those of you that are following that, close your ears if you're not. We did get into Europe a few times in that 10-year period. So that bodes very, very well. I'm getting really excited now. I'm tempted to look at the top goal scorers and that. I'm not going to do it just yet. But the competition reputation is up there with English League One. That gives you an understanding of how far it's developed. At the start of the game, it's around National League North and South level. So let's go and have a look at our champions at the moment, shall we? The first club are going to be TNS. But before that, after last time, I do want to go and have a look very quickly at the team stats, because I want to see if they've got bigger attendances. That's something that didn't come with the finances, but might with reputation. And equally, whether anyone's got a new stadium. So, average attendance, not up hugely, but actually there's not as many low ones at the bottom. So the reputation has had an impact there. The fact Carmarthen have got over 1,000 for a couple of games tells you a lot. And TNS's net transfer spend this year is £500,000. Well, we have got some very interesting things going on here. What about stadiums by capacity? No massive ones. So actually, there's not been any big upgrades on that front. However, we've got to go and look at some of these teams because I'm very excited. Let me very quickly see if there's any of the big boys missing in the north and the south. So, Connors Key, who were the champions coming into the save, a 10th place there. Didn't do very well in our Builder Nation either. But there are a few surprises at the top. A few clubs that have come up and done well. Although Afan Lido, the champions of the 4th season, have just got relegated, finishing bottom. In the north, we've got Newtown coming back up, but no massive shocks. Aberystwyth have stayed down a few times. Sam Dalby's a player I recognise. He's at Prestatyn, and he's very good. That's a 2nd-tier player in Wales. We are about to have liftoff. 22 assists for a player as well. I'm getting very, very confused by this. There are some excellent players about. I just want to check because last time the stadiums actually came to sides further down the divisions. So I'm intrigued to see what happens here. Not many massive ones by the looks of it. So actually no big surprises on that front. What about the south? Cambrian and Clydach have got a massive one again. They got it last time. So there must be something built into the game that can cause that. Let's have a look at the South Division though, just to see how it's lined up. Cardiff Met Uni up the top. Few other sides in there we'd expect, but nothing really standing out just too much. But some really good players in the 2nd tier, including for Cardiff Met Uni, Jazzy Cabia, who we had at Ballymena in our Twitch livestream stories, a very good player. But these are in the 2nd tier, and they're far better than most of the other teams have got in our current Builder Nation 15 years in. Let's go and have a look firstly though at our champions TNS. I'm thinking there might be some European runs here, you know. So it has dropped a little bit, but it's interesting to note that TNS's reputation is still 3.5 star after 10 years. It hasn't sunk that much. They've got okay finances still. They've got a Dutch coach, which I'm guessing they wouldn't have been able to get before if it wasn't for the reputation. Cambrian and Clydach, another who have done that. Their star player is Brian Conway, an Irishman. Wow. That is on loan from Tottenham, worth 12 million quid, a full international, and arguably better than any centre-half we've ever had at Bangor City. This has had far more of an impact than giving the clubs millions and millions and millions of pounds. Of course, TNS are already professional, so we're not going to learn a lot from this club. But some of the others that have won the league is where we're really going to get our lesson. Has their reputation got them big sponsorship deals and opportunities to really grow financially? If we look at the senior squad, lots of their players worth over £1 million. Look at some of the people they've got at the club. Anthony Alanga. He's brilliant. He was a Manchester United youngster. And he's still there. This has made a massive impact. Isaac Davis. scoring just under 1 in 2 is a full Welsh international. They've got class players. I'm really pleasantly surprised and a little bit blown away by this. I would love the other sides in our Builder Nation to have teams like this. And reputation can do so much for you. Let's go and have a look at how they've been doing in Europe and how they're getting on in terms of facilities and background stuff too. So this season, they were in the Europa League group stages. Not the Europa Conference, Europa League. They got to the group stages. Unfortunately, they finished bottom, but that's massive. Let's have a look at the previous years. Europa League the year before that, and Europa Conference after Christmas. The season before didn't reach the group stages, but then I guess for TNS, they weren't winning the league before that, were they? But they were still getting to the playoffs a lot of years. So they've had a good side for some time by the looks of it. And actually, that's blown my mind. I'm so surprised by that. That's the TNS side that are virtually matching what we're doing now, 15 years in. And they've got an incredible side as well. If you consider the fact the first 6 or 7 years, they didn't actually win the league. That's a pretty remarkable achievement. Let's finish off by looking at the facilities, which haven't really improved in truth. But they've still got that reputation. What we want to know now is whether many of these other sides have managed to go pro, whether they've managed to get great squads in as well, and how they've got on in Europe. So Bangor City are going to be first. They haven't won a title yet in this save, but how have they got on? They've finished as high as second a few times. They've got insecure finances, but they're still professional, and they've still got 3 stars of their reputation. Their manager is Rhys Griffiths, who's a very good Welsh coach, and their key player is Till Bullbecker, who is a very good centre-half, on loan from Villa, but not quite the same standard as TNS, in fairness. So let's have a look at their other players. They've got good experience there. The likes of Kieran Brown, Tom Scully, players I recognise from the start of the game. Connor Barron's in there as well. Player we know very well from our head coach save with Brechin City on loan. Let's have a look at their facilities as well. Good training facilities. So actually, they've invested a little bit more off the pitch. And has that helped them in Europe? Let's see what years they've qualified. I guess it's hard if you're not getting there every year. But they got to the Europa Conference playoff last year. Same the year before that. But I don't think they've broken that group stage barrier. It doesn't look like it. The early years, of course, they weren't in Europe. But for a side that have come up from the second tier, that's pretty damn impressive, I would say. Now let's have a look at Carmarthen and Port Talbot. These two are going to be the big ones. Started in the second tier, semi-pro sides, but have won loads of league titles between them. So Carmarthen first. Professional. 3-star reputation. Have they got any facility improvements? A little bit. Not a huge amount. Let's have a look at their star players. Joseph Fox is a Cyprus international and is absolutely excellent. I'm getting jealous now. I'm kind of wishing I hadn't done this because this is making me really jealous in the Builder Nation. Andy Irving's there at the age of 30. They've got so many good experienced pros about. I could never have expected that to go this well. Reputation has had such a big an impact in comparison to finances. Let's have a look at their European runs in recent years. So, I don't think it's gone quite as well for them. The year they won the title, they got to the Europa Conference playoff round, but lost to the Moldovan Sheriff. Before that, early qualifiers or no Europe. So it looks like they've only actually had 2 or 3 good years, Carmarthen. That's interesting. I thought with that side, they'd be doing a little better. That probably bodes well, though, for Port Talbot, who won 4 titles out of 5 earlier in his 10-year stint. Let's have a look at their side now. Professional, 3-star reputation. John Hartson's in charge, of course a former Welsh international. Their key player is Sean Edwards from England. Not great, but pretty good, I would say. Come from Barnet beforehand. Alan Forrest is one of their star players as well. Getting on a little bit now, but we know the quality he's got, again, from the head coach series. Ryan Clark's their key player. Very good. I'm quite impressed again. Maybe not as good. They've fallen away a little bit, Port Talbot. So I'm guessing when they were winning the title, they didn't reach the group stages, because otherwise, surely they'd be better financially. I'm wrong. They reached the Europa League group stages in 2026, and by the looks of it, they picked up a few points. Unfortunately, they fell away towards the end, but they got 4 points in there. A couple of good home results. The year before that, they were in the Europa Conference group stages, and they picked up 3 wins there, so they must have got through. They did. They got to the last 16 and they only went out on away goals to Motherwell. So they've really declined in the last couple of years, because at one stage here, they were absolutely fabulous. Now that is pretty interesting. Let's go back to the year before that. So these would have been their early titles, but they didn't make it that time around. Europa Conference group stages 2023 though. So let's see how they got on there. They finished bottom of the group that time, but got to the group stages. The year before that, they got to the playoff rounds and only lost out narrowly to Malmo. And the second season is when they just come up. This is ridiculous. And some of the players that are at these clubs as well is just insane. Llandudno have made Europe this year, but actually they've been pretty poor for the rest of it. They've still got 3-star, they're still professional. Their key player is still very high quality. And what seems to be the big difference here, because of the reputation of the clubs, Premier League teams are happy to send their youngsters here because they're reputable teams and they trust them to develop the players. So actually, I think that's probably been the biggest change in this save, is that every team in the league has got 3 or 4 quality Premier League youngsters there on loan. And that's had one hell of an impact. Afan Lido won a title early on, so I'm interested to see what's happened to them. Because they won a league the year after coming up. 2 years later, they were relegated, and they've been a yo-yo club every season since. They're only semi-pro, they're only 1.5 star. So how did they get on in Europe in 24-25? It can't have gone well, otherwise that would have changed their save forever. I'm wrong again. They got to the Europa Conference group stages, and they got points. They beat Vitesse. I'm flabbergasted by this. I can't even put words together. I've got such surprise from it. Let's go and have a look at the coefficients then, because this is something that I'm going to find really interesting, I think. We'll have a look back after to see how many teams exactly are pro and whatever else. But the Welsh Premier League, 2.5 star reputation already. How many players from the Welsh League, if any, are in the Wales squad? None there. What about the 21s? Doesn't look like there's any actually. So that's maybe one of the casualties. They're still losing Welsh players early, but getting youngsters back on loan instead. If we have a look at the coefficient, in terms of Europe though, hopefully there'll be some more positive signs on that front. So in terms of the nation club coefficient, Wales is up to 22nd. And it's only because they had a poor year this year that they've fallen away a little bit again. Because prior to that, they were knocking on the door for getting to 19th. And that's when we start to see a bit of a difference. So actually, Welsh football's developing at a quicker rate than we were with Bangor City in the Builder Nation. And that shows you how important reputation is in FM. Absolutely incredible. Let's have a look at the clubs individually to see where they are in the world. If we get the Welsh ones up here, TNS should be the highest now. They're 166th. Port Talbot still 113th. For that year, they got 11 points. So actually, it's a bit of a shame. If they carried on making Europe, they probably could have taken Wales even further. But those two, and a couple of the others coming along behind them, suggest there's going to be a positive future for Welsh football. I can't wait to see, really, again in 10 years, whether this is going to have gradually continued to decline in terms of reputation, because the clubs are sharing out Europe, whether it financially dips again, or if on these occasions we're going to see 1 or 2 clubs like TNS and Port Talbot get to Europe regularly and really take things on. But I'm very pleasantly surprised by what I've seen so far. Let's go back to the Welsh League though and have a look at transfers, because that's always one of the benchmarks for us financially. We saw TNS had spent £500,000 this year, so let's see what on earth's been going on and what the biggest transfers have been and where they've been coming from. So you can see TNS have got the 3 biggest deals. 2 of them are domestic ones. So Ronaldo Dunkley has gone from Llanelli to them, but also Dan France from Blackburn, which suggests they're signing pretty good players. Blackburn, probably still a championship side. They are. So they're really good standard of players they're bringing in. A lot of players coming from Scotland to the Welsh League. And a lot of other players been sold on from Wales to England as well. Again, around the 100 grand mark. Let's have a look at the previous years, just in case there's any big standouts. So Bangor City to Aberdeen was a big one the year before. Still probably more of the big transfers are going out. But this one, 27-28, Bangor City to Llandudno, £500,000. Kevin Kelly, he's pretty good at 25, but not sure he warranted the biggest transfer fee. Let's keep going back. We've got 250 grand for a domestic deal the year before. £500,000 part exchange the year before that. TNS starting to snap up the best players in the league there. And they're managing to keep hold of them too. The year before that, Bangor City spent 900 grand to bring in Mark O'Hara from Motherwell. He's now retired, but that's an incredible investment at that stage of the save. £500,000 the year before for a domestic transfer. 170 the year before, Prestatyn stealing someone from Stoke. The second season, Flint Town spending £500,000 on a Huddersfield player. That's pretty remarkable. And in the first season, TNS not spending a huge amount, but bringing in a few good players as well. Colour me very surprised by all of this. I really didn't expect it. I'm glad it has had an effect, but I guess the worry is, as the reputation seems to be gradually declining for the clubs, if they can't then compete in Europe regularly, will we end up with just 2 or 3 good sides? Let's have a quick glance through the rest of the league to see who's professional. So, Bala, not won a title, but still pro, still 3.5-star reputation. Alex Lawless is a brilliant coach, former player at Luton Town. Their key player Ryan Duncan is good, and even their finances are alright. So have they had a European run? I'll be interested to see if they've reached the group stages. So this year they went out of the first hurdle, and prior to that, it doesn't look like, bar the first season, they qualified for Europe at all. So where on earth has all that money and all that reputation come from? I don't understand it. How have they got a bigger reputation than clubs that have been in Europe 3, 4 or 5 years out of 10? It seems odd. Colwyn Bay are semi-pro and only 2-star. Barry Town 3-star and professional. They've not had many great years. And in fact, I don't think they've qualified for Europe once. They haven't. They've not been above 6th place. Llanelli Town. Now, they've been fighting up the top a few years, so let's have a quick look at them. Still 3-star and professional. Have they had any European runs? Not in recent years, but the first few, they got into Europe a couple of times, went out in the early qualifiers. What about Connors Quay, our reigning champions at the start? First year they finished 3rd, since then they've been really poor. Same has happened in our Bangor City save. Flint Town, now they were spending big money at the start. So the first 3 or 4 years, they fought for Europe every time before falling away. Now at the moment, they're semi-pro, they're only 1.5-star reputation, it's dropped very quickly. But prior to that, they had a couple of decent qualifying runs in Europe, but didn't get past the playoff round. Now let's finally have a quick glance at the North and South for anything spectacular that might have happened there. So a lot of yo-yo clubs, not a lot of massive deals. Not many of them have kept their reputation, but the likes of Newtown are professional. A couple of them have got 2-star reputation still, 2.5-star in the case of Prestatyn Town. Let's have a look at the South. Cardiff Met Uni, secure finances but amateur, we've seen that story before. Cambrian and Clydac, big stadium, but not been able to make use of it. So a really mixed bag we've got from that, but pleasantly surprised that so many sides have made Europe, so many have done so well. And Welsh football is in a very interesting state. I have no idea what the next 10 years is going to bring. I certainly didn't expect what we saw there, but I'm pleasantly surprised. Many of the teams have held most of their reputation. Lots have managed to go pro despite no financial injection. And a few of them have managed to hold their own at a bigger level. And the Welsh League has still had that reputation rise. So we'll see if that continues over the next 10 years. We'll be back next Sunday to tell the story in 2040. If you're looking forward to that and you did enjoy this introduction, please do put a thumbs up on the video. Let me know in the comments if anything stood out to you that perhaps I missed, or even if you can explain some of the things that have happened. And did you, like me, maybe not expect reputation to have so much more of an impact than finances did? If you want to stay up to date though and find out how the next bit gets on, subscribe down below and turn that notification bell on. We've got videos every weekday from our Build a Nation series with Bangor City. You can see a different universe of Welsh football there. And of course there'll be plenty of other weekend specials up until FM22, as well as live Twitch streams which you can see up in the eye above. Please do give us a follow over there. The Football Podcast channel, which is back and bigger than ever before for the new season. And we've also got a new food channel as well. All of the links up in the eye above. But a big thank you for watching, supporting as always. I hope you found it as interesting as I did. I'll see you next Sunday for instalment number 2 as we skip 20 years down the line.